You have to have a BMI of under 35. Now, I struggle to lose weight, but I pushed and pushed and I got myself down to 32.5. I went up to the hospital and they told me that the guidelines had changed.
Hi, welcome to the show. This is It Just Me, the podcast, which you don't usually have me start, so that's a bit weird for a start. The reason why it is weird that I'm like taking over hosting duties. This is my show.
I'm off.
So Paul and I are with you again, as always. The reason why this one is a little bit different is that our guest is family. So that's always a bit weird, right?
Definite first time for everything.
There is a first time for everything. So we've done a few episodes now based on what factors and considerations you have to make in order to have children, whether you're going to have children or not have children, and the choices and the considerations that go hand in hand with that. Now, we're trying to cover kind of mundane things or things that are normal, real life, real people. And the reason why we think this is really interesting is because people don't really talk about it openly as much as you would think they would, since this is meant to be so normal and so mundane. And we found some really, really interesting people up till now. And unfortunately now all we're left with is my sister.
Thanks for that.
I'm joking.
I was waiting for that. I was.
No, so my sister has some unique insight on this. This is Linzi. She's with us today. And she has a unique insight on this because it's the other side of the coin to what the other episodes have been looking at. And we thought that it was good to explore kind of different angles, different avenues, and get kind of a rounded picture for the entire season. So we're probably, Paul and I have discussed it, and we're hoping that it's not going to be a one-sided thing, and that we might find another couple of people who can kind of flesh out the other side of the conversation. So, Linzi, hello.
Hi.
Sorry, I've already made fun of you in the intro, which is mean. So I'm sorry, but I wouldn't usually do that to a guest, and I'm sorry. I apologize already.
Okay.
It's what happens when it's familiar.
You can get away with that. Have you noticed I haven't said anything mean? Because that's not something that's going to end well for me.
No. What have you got to say that's mean?
I could say things about you, but I won't. I won't do that.
So I've got a bad cop, good cop going on here then.
Yes, you do. You do. Linzi, tell us about yourself.
I'm a 33-year-old married woman. A busy job. A small family. I don't know what else to tell you.
What do you do?
I'm a manager of a retail store.
Okay. And we're here to talk today because you really want kids, is that fair to say?
Yes. I'd say now I don't really want as much as I did.
Okay.
But yes. Yeah.
Just to put it into context, isn't it, Paul, that the reason why that has now changed is because it's been such a long time. Linzi's wanted children for a long, long time and has been kind of unable due to medical and other kind of things that have been going on in her life. And that's the kind of things that we want to get into today, Linzi, is could you explain just some of the medical reasons that have prevented you and some of the things that the doctors have said to you that you would have to do in order to make for them to help you with pregnancy?
Yep. So I have no problem in getting pregnant. Pretty easy in that department. The carrying the child, because I have something called, and I need to get this right. I can't even remember what it's called now. I have a blood disorder anyway.
Okay.
And it means that my blood doesn't clot the way as normal people do. So when the egg attaches to the wall then breaks down because it can't gel properly. There is ways to stop that happening, but you need to be able to see a heartbeat for the fetus before you can get the injection. You need to stop that. I can never get that far. The one time I did, we were all excited, and then I actually lost 2 days before the appointment. So that is one of the issues. They also say I'm overweight, which I am, but I think they use that very widely for a lot of issues. And just in general, I've got diabetes, so that would cause a lot of issues as well. I've also got a liver disorder. It doesn't really cause me any day-to-day issues, but if I was to fall pregnant again and carry full term, I could have something life-threatening. So now it comes down to, is it worth having a baby for my husband to then be a single father kind of thing?
I was just about to ask that. How do you weigh up that balance?
For me, I would be giving my husband something that I think he deserves, and naturally wants. But is it fair on that child to then have no mother? My husband is a very devout Muslim. Well, yeah, a few grey lines
Devout's
there,
probably
but
not the words.
yeah, maybe not. No,
It's devout as most people in the UK are about their religion.
Yeah, he doesn't eat pork. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
And
is that about as devout as he gets?
he prays.
Well, there you go. We've got it.
He, coming from that culture, it's all about big families and family. So that makes it a lot harder for him. I suppose like he's not fulfilled his duty as the oldest son in his family. So I find that hard, that I've let him down. But I think I don't think he'd cope on his own, to be honest. I've seen him babysit. Yeah, so, and he's even said that he would rather have me than a child, so.
We've said the same, though. I mean, obviously, I've got an odd invested interest in this with you being family, not just a guest on the show. So, obviously, I think the same way. I'd rather have you around than you risk that. But also, if it was possible, I would wish that for you. You know, I want you guys to have everything that you want, but I also don't want you to risk your life to get it. So, for me, it's hard because obviously I'm a bit selfish and I would like to keep you around.
Thanks. I suppose.
You've made up for your earlier comments, I think.
Oh,
I've got a long way to go. I've got a long way to go. I'm mean more than I'm nice.
Yeah, just about. Linzi, I thought it was interesting you said that you've let your husband down.
Yeah, I feel like I've not. It's like the norm, isn't it? Like a woman should get married, have a baby, bring up the baby, carry on the genes. I feel like I've not given that to my husband. I've kept something from him, and he's missing out on something that naturally should have. And I feel like he gets a bit. I don't think he does get embarrassed, but I think there's got to be something he feels when all his cousins, his sisters, his brothers are having babies, and we're the ones that don't. So I feel like I've made that happen for him.
Does he know you feel this way if you shared what you just shared with us with him?
Yep. Multiple times.
How does he respond?
That in his eyes, he has multiple children. He has 3 nephews in America, 2 nephews in Pakistan. He's got a nephew here, and he's got a niece here who's heavily involved with. To him, he's got the world. He doesn't need to then sacrifice what could be fatal for me to have another baby, when he feels blessed to have all these already. I also think when he babysits for overnight and he gets his own time back, I think he sometimes thinks, oh, thank God I've got that.
Is he a little bit like, dodged a bullet there, I think, actually?
The fact that you can come in mid-babysitting and they're all sleeping on the couch, I think that says it all, really.
That's a kind of sign of parenting generally, though. I mean, there is times where it's just absolutely exhausting. We obviously, the dynamic we have is that you are what I expected to be in this whole scenario as being the cool auntie. I expected to be the cool uncle, and you have all the kids, and me come in and be like, oh yeah, I'll wind up your kids and leave. And now it feels like that as kind of the tables have turned slightly.
Now you complain about people doing that to your kids.
I specifically Linzi and Hassan, because they come and visit.
Can we get this right? I am like the third parent. I am not that bad. Hassan, however, will come in and play tickle time 10 minutes before bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
is that not right? Is that a problem?
And then leave. You always hear Hassan going, are we going home now?
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. How far along, Linzi, numbers-wise, do you need to be? You spoke about needing to be able to detect a heartbeat before being given an injection.
Ideally over 8 weeks.
Okay.
Normal for most people, it's 12 weeks is when you would go for your first scan. As soon as I find out I'm pregnant, I have to get in contact and we have to go through all these different questions, and then they decide when they get me in. When I moved to Forth Valley, they basically said as soon as you get a pregnancy test, come in. Fife, however, told me that I would have to go through the normal procedures of a pregnancy, wait for the midwife, wait for the letters, everything like that. So I think moving to Forth Valley may have been a bit late. And what they've offered could have been a lot better earlier on. But
we've spoke about this before, Paul and I, and on different shows as well, about this kind of postcode lottery for...
Oh yeah, definitely.
For medical help. Even now, listening to that, saying, "Oh, you feel like you've stepped up and upgraded that medical kind of access," and maybe it's been a bit late for you. We've been speaking to other people in America. Our more recent guests have been, our previous guests have all been from America, and their access to medical things is completely different. It seems like they have a different support system completely altogether, and a lot more kind of hand-holding and help. And I don't know if that's because of the way their system's paid for, or just the culture in the country, or what it is, but it feels like we've spoken to people who have had that access to things that possibly you would never have had access to. And that
I think you can go over and get like IVF on your lunch or something. Like, it's incredible the difference over there.
Totally different from your experience here in Scotland.
Yeah, so I got put on the IVF referral list, and getting on that list is hard enough, but then getting off that list to the actual procedure is even harder. You have to have a BMI of, the first time it was under 35. Now I struggle to lose weight because I love food.
Don't we all?
I also have something called lipodystrophy, which means I can't produce fat on my arms and legs. Apparently I can't do it on my face, but I'd beg to differ with that one. So it means that I find it even harder to lose weight in that side of it. But I pushed and I got myself down to 32.5. I went up to the hospital all singing, dancing and ready to go. And they told me that the guidelines had changed and you had to be 30 minimum.
Wow.
So as hard as it was to get down to that, I kind of just gave up. I was like, it's not happening.
Yeah, every time you go, they change the goalposts. How you meant to win this game?
Yep.
I understand.
Can you remember how you felt when you were told, when you went in, as you say, ecstatic, elated, I imagine, having reached this target, to be told, oh, by the way, the target's now 2.5 lower?
I think I maybe went for a McDonald's. Or probably
other fast foods are available.
Yeah, I probably went to somewhere very unlike what I'd had in the previous weeks.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, I actually went to the gym.
Okay.
And then realised that even if I spoke to my gym instructor, at the time I was following this 5 days a week, very strenuous training, very strict diet, like being sick when you come out of training, you've worked that hard.
Geez.
I didn't follow it the same as everybody else because of diabetes, but it did work. And when I went in and spoke to him, I broke down with my gym instructor and he said, Linzi, you could train and lose loads of weight, but you could still be up at that BMI because muscle weighs and stuff, you go in, these BMIs are ridiculous. Yeah. So that kind of made me think, well, what's the point? Why am I even trying? And I think I fell into a hole then, although the gym had told me to keep going. I was like, no, what's the point?
Was it the lack of motivation in your head? Did you have a sort of figure and that kept you going throughout the training, throughout the weight loss?
I had a goal, I had something to look forward to, and then it was just ripped away. So I thought, well, I was happy when I wasn't happy, but I was okay being bigger. It wasn't a big issue. Health-wise, it probably did me good, but it's the back of your mind when you start to feel like that. So, yeah,
it's difficult, and I can see how sad even talking about this is making you. I know you really well, so I know when your demeanor has changed, and even from the beginning of this conversation, I've seen bringing this up is painful. So thank you for sharing it with us, because obviously we're not wanting to run.
It's like a free therapy session.
Broadcast to the internet.
Broadcast to the internet, yeah.
If it helps somebody else, then
this is the whole point. You're right, Linzi.
Yeah, that's kind of, we spoke about that again with a different on one of the other episodes, that if we could help or shine a light for at least one person, one other person that listens to this or watches this, then hopefully that's the goal. You know, the some of the things we've talked about are a little bit serious and a little bit serious, really serious, and kind of life affecting and very, very life changing for some people, and especially some of the procedures some of the other guests have been through. And yours is again the other side of that same story, whereas some of our other guests have not been wanting to have children at all, and you have been wanting all the children. Like, you really would love to get pregnant, and had all these hurdles and obstacles, and it just really puts into perspective how life for everybody is affected, and it's not just you. So
no, I think I've
Brandon, did you see that?
I think I've wanted, well, you'll know this, I've wanted kids since I was like 10 years, probably before that, when I asked Mum for baby dolls and everything. And we used to go to charity events, and if somebody had a baby stall, I'd buy every baby knitted jumper and be like, Mum, can I put that in my bottom drawer? Everybody has a bottom drawer for their first house. I had a bottom drawer for my first baby. And like when I was at college, I was in a community care course and you had to have the baby overnight. I asked to be the last one to have it so I could have it for a week.
Wow.
Because I was so excited. Like, I took it everywhere. I had it at the dinner table. There was a lot of family arguments over that.
I remember that.
My
Do
mum
you
getting
really?
up in the middle of the night because the keys falling out the back and the baby's screaming and I'm fast asleep. Changed its outfits about 4 times a day. I loved it. See, when I had a nano baby, like that was the dream at this time.
Revolutionary. Did you have a baby?
So yeah, I went through a few things when I was younger, though, that I think everybody said I'd be the first person to get married, I'd be the first person to have a baby. Clearly that was not the case. One of my friends had a baby I think she was a week after her 16th birthday.
Wow.
And she was the one that was never having a baby. So I was like, well, if you've had one, it's okay for me to have one now. And then I got a job, I went to college, I got my first serious boyfriend. I actually fell pregnant at 15. And I went and had the procedure to get rid of it. I probably wouldn't have carried it full term anyway, knowing what I know now. But I sometimes blame myself that is karma for what I did when I was 15. But when you're 15 years old and your boyfriend says it's me or the baby, you kind of like, well, never going to find another guy in my life. So I think that's affected me a lot. And then from then on, I've always searched for something just to fill it. Like I had a duck that hung in my car that nobody knew what that represented. That represented this baby that I'd got rid of. And I no longer have that duck because it reminds me of what I feel guilty about now. And it's the last thing I need with everything else. But I do feel that I blame myself for that.
It's an interesting psychological point of view that you, and it's not uncommon. Obviously, there are these surrogate babies. You know, they're not. I don't want to call them pretend babies, but like they're almost
electronic.
Like dolls, but they're so lifelike that if somebody's lost a baby, that they can mother this until their bereavement is over, or you know. I've seen those, and obviously there's a psychological aspect to guilt and the way you're feeling, and we're not psychologists, Paul and I, so we can't really weigh in on that, but we do find it fascinating the way that people's lives affect the decision-making process. And I mean, obviously, to hear you say that you feel guilty for something you did when you were 15, I think as your brother, you need to let that go.
I think I did a lot more when I was 15 that I should be guilty about.
Well, that's a different. I was
just about
podcast.
to say, I really want to ask about that, but now is not the time.
Right, so next time.
Yeah, on the next podcast.
After hours.
Paul's gonna...
I do remember when we were younger, and Ryan used to say, I want to be cool Uncle Ryan, play with the child and then leave. I want that role. And I never thought I'd dream of being an auntie. I did always think it would be the other way around. It was weird.
Yeah. But you have a massive involvement with our children, like as much as you possibly could have as an auntie, without encroaching on my own marriage. Like, hey,
I think I'm pretty. There's a grey line there too.
Well, there's another psychological Freudian thing that we need to probably stay away from on this episode. But
no, I mean, like, maybe not on the first pregnancy, but when Marisa was being planned, shall we say, I was very much involved in that planning.
You were like,
not right, the act of it.
I was going to say, like, can you just clarify exactly what you mean by plan?
She was. So, yeah, let's clarify. She was not there with the video camera. There was no production involved.
No, like I was very involved in the the date, not the dates either.
Where is this going?
The
Should I
discussion.
leave?
You're involved in the discussion.
The decision.
Oh.
And the taking the test
was basically planned to the letter. Well, that's the
yes,
thing,
she was, and because I was like, oh, I can't wait to go to America, big family holiday, and Paula was like, Lindsay, maybe not do that, and I was like, okay, now you need to tell me more, and she's like, okay, but nobody else knows. Okay. And I'm like, what is it? And when she phoned me in the middle of the supermarket and went, don't plan America, I was like, yes. So yeah, that was my involvement. Jackson, I had
just to clarify,
no idea. That was a very I think it was Father's Day when you told us, was it not?
For your first one,
mate.
I don't remember that, but I do. I mean,
I do remember us all getting together at my dad's, and I had found out I was pregnant, which I think made it worse at the time. But not. No, I mean, like, for your news coming out, because it kind of like darkened that, but for me, your news took away that. So it was really good, because I remember going down to Asda's and buying all these chocolates and stuff for getting excited.
I want to ask Lindsay, because you're obviously heavily involved in Ryan's life and his wife's life and his kids. What's that like for both you and your husband, knowing that you want to have your own family, but there are so many kids to look after in other families? How does that feel?
It's a blessing in disguise, because I think if I didn't have all these children in my life, it would be a lot harder. But then on the other side, it's hard to see them, like Paula with a bump and preparing and stuff like that. I want to be doing that. We looked at adoption, but there's so many hoops to jump through that as well. And career got in the way. They wanted every Saturday for 12 weeks on the run up to Christmas. Retail, that is not going to happen for anybody.
No.
As much as my bosses are great, that no. So we kind of swiped that. We've looked at going doing it again, but it's just the time that it'll take for all of this. It would be worth it in the end. It's just, I don't know where I'd find the time. I don't even know if I'd fit a child in it, to be honest. Looking at it now.
You do though.
You have to, don't you?
No choice. Yeah, Ryan spoke about that before. He spoke about sort of being unsure, and then you said within about 30 seconds it was like, well, I don't have a chance to be unsure anymore.
Exactly, it's coming, it's happening.
So I remember the day he was born, and you came to my work, and you kind of sat in my work for 2 hours, stinking, by the way.
Because 3 days have been
in a hospital waiting for a baby. No, just it wasn't like as bad as that. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Yeah, so you came in and you hadn't washed for a week, so that was,
and it was really obvious.
No, it was really no, but it added to the he had chosen to drive past his home to my place of work, wait for me to finish work, go round to the photo shop, print some photos of a baby that has literally just come onto the earth, and sit around so much that my boss went, Lindsay, I think you should go home. And I was like, yeah, please. He's like, yeah, you two are not going to settle, so just go. And then I was the first.
Bullied the boss. I'm not leaving until you finish.
Thanks, Paul, if you're watching. So that was really exciting, because he chose to come and get me, and me be the first person to go into the hospital that nobody was allowed into. So I had to hide behind a curtain at one point, I think.
Oh, wow. Why did you have to hide?
I don't think
because
you were completely allowed in. I just think they would have rather not had. Because
no, but remember when she was
Paula
getting her
had an
toast or
infection,
something?
Oh, okay.
The baby had an infection, so they were just trying to be cautious.
Okay.
Trying to get me out, though, that would have been a task. And I remember just sitting there with him on my chest and trying to take selfies.
As you do.
Yeah, and I was still in my work uniform and everything. It was a weird couple of days, that. But
That was a
seeing
weird week for me,
Ryan,
I'm not gonna lie.
seeing Ryan, he took to it like to a duck to water. His excitement rubbed off on all of us.
Did you see a change in Ryan when his son was born?
Yes.
What sort of change?
So as you can see, Ryan is not a very serious person.
No.
And humour covers a lot of our life. So when Jackson came along, you saw the change in seriousness. The banter aspect was still there, but the watch his head, don't do that, don't flush the toilet, he might wake up.
Practicalities, I like it.
Like things
How
you
dare you
never
wake my
hear
baby.
come out of him. Turn the telly down. I don't even think I saw what was going on in any of those programs. Should we really be having this in the house? Just like things that you never thought Ryan would ever think about. I suppose he risk assessed his whole life. And it was nice to see, and it was nice to be involved in as well.
You have though. You've been involved with a lot of it, and I hope that. I mean, it's not like I've done that for you. I've not been like, oh, we should.
Thanks,
This is.
You should have a child.
No,
you should look after the child.
No, it was you. I think we decided quite early on that it would be important for you to be involved. For all of the factors that you've kind of already mentioned, the one that you so wanted to have that kind of maternal involvement, and it was great to have somebody who was so supportive. Like, we needed a support network, and it was great to have a direct family member who wanted to be directly involved. So
I know, who takes 2 weeks off when their nephew's born and stays the full 2 weeks?
Like
someone who's dedicated.
We worked that out together, because Paula, unfortunately, because she'd had such a rough pregnancy, was quite ill. So it would have been all on me for those 2 weeks if you hadn't been there. So, like, I can only, like, I've thanked you before, but I can thank you on the internet. I thank you, Linz. That you were there to help support me during that time. And there was one specific night where, because Paula really wanted to continue breastfeeding, we didn't want to bring in the baby milk, what do they call it? Formula.
Yeah.
We wanted to kind of, we'd been told by the health visitor that you shouldn't do combination feeding, that you should do breastfeeding or one. Combination feeding doesn't really work because then the baby won't latch on to its mother. And there was a bit of that, and we were like, right, okay. So we were kind of first time parents. Paula was like, right, well, we can't do the formula thing. We need to make sure that which is big pressure on her with her not being well. Like, she's not feeling great. She's really tired. She's still struggling with the after effects of the pregnancy infection, and just, it was a rough time for her. So she was still healing. And
he was a very hungry baby.
And he was a very hungry baby. So we kind of decided one night, because Paula was fast asleep, Jackson's crying. We had explored everything. And I was like, Linz, we're just going to need to feed him. Like, I'm not waking Paula up. We're not doing it. It's just not.
We did not make that decision in 5 minutes. I must have to say, that took us a good hour to morally.
Yeah,
first bottle, first feed.
What was Paula's reaction when she woke up and you told her?
Thank you.
Okay. So a good call then.
Yeah, because he still latched on as well after that. So
He did. And combination feeding for us did actually work. It worked really well.
And I got to be more involved.
Because you got to actually feed him with a bottle.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as soon that's, and I know most dads will admit to this, that as soon as you're able to feed your child, that is when you actually are able to be involved in that process, because you can't give birth to the baby, so you've been there, but you've been in a support network. But now you're actually actively helping keep this baby alive. You're like, oh look, I'm feeding this baby. Look, I'm doing that. So like that for a lot of dads is that moment where you're like, here we are. I'm providing. I'm doing the actual parenting now.
That makes sense.
So for a moment, like you're like, I'm actually involved now.
I know. I remember when we did it, and I said, "You need to do it first. I can't be the first one to give him his ball."
Yeah.
As much as I'd loved it.
And did you, Ryan? Did you give the first bottle?
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. And we were in that moment that Linzi just explained, but we're in that moment where we were scared that we were going against Paula's wishes. And I understood the reason for it. It wasn't just Paula's wishes. Like we had both been told this by the health visitor. So I was worried that we were doing something wrong. Looking back now, that seems crazy. But at the time when you're in it and the first baby, I was just like, I thought, are we doing the right thing? Like, sure. Are we ruining something here?
You've spoke about this before, about not only having that then, but having that basically throughout the whole time that you bring up children. Am I doing the right thing? Am I causing the harm here? Right, you know?
Yeah, you're always second guess yourself, because you wonder if you did something that would cause harm, could you forgive yourself with that? So I always, and Linzi said, oh yeah, he's not very serious. When it comes to my children, I've become very serious. I'm like, no, we're gonna think this through. We're gonna risk assess every part.
Turn that TV down.
Yeah, turn that TV down. Do not flush that toilet because you wake my baby. Do you know, but just like all the thought processes that we have available to us. Now, I might make a decision that's wrong based on the information I have been wrong. That's different. I can't help that. But to make the wrong decision because I haven't thought it through, I could not live with that.
Yeah.
So that's why on that moment when Linzi and I were having to feed Jackson, we were just like, are we doing the right thing? Because the health visitor says no, and she surely knows better than we do. But this baby's hungry. Like, it's this, we've changed his bum, we've tried to rock him to sleep. There's nothing left. Like, like he's clearly hungry, and we need to feed him. So let's feed him. And risk in the morning Paula being like, what have we done? And well, it was one thing. It became to the point where it was very obvious that Jackson was hungry and Paula wasn't able to help him because she was so unwell. So
it wasn't that either. Paula could have milked till the cows came home, and it still would not have been enough for that baby.
Okay.
Yeah, he was very hungry. So we fed him there and then, and actually thereafter we were giving him hungry baby milk. It wasn't even like normal formula. After that we were giving him, like, for a little while we did, but then he was still hungry, and we were combination feeding, and he clearly got a taste for milk, and he was like, this is awesome, give me more. And he's, as soon as we started feeding him on the bottle, he slept all the time, didn't he, Linz? He was just a great sleeper. He slept.
It was a great baby.
He was a brilliant baby. Led us in a false sense of security.
He said.
Absolute amazing baby. Like when he was technically a toddler, but not really. He was the size of a toddler. He would take himself to bed. He would it was the size, but he would crawl to the bottom step, and we would like, is it bedtime? And he'd be like, yeah. And we'd be like, okay,
this is perfect.
So it's bedtime then. So I'd started doing this thing where I was helping him up the stairs. Like, obviously I wouldn't let him go up the stairs himself as a baby, but like showing him that we were going upstairs, and I would like, he'd be trying to crawl up the stairs, and I'd like help his knees get to the next step, and doing it. It took ages, but we got to the top step. So he was obviously knackered by the time we got to the top of the step. And then we put him into bed, and he was like, dummy pacifier.
Take his own dummy, wouldn't he?
And he's like, yeah, like it's asleep. And that was that. And then we were like, right, well, how long's he going to be down for?
The only time he woke up is when he lost his dummy.
Wow.
And they had like a sofa bed. They had like a sofa bed in his bedroom, and that was my bed. How I made that through without making any noise, I don't know. And he used to wake up as soon as I heard a wee cry. I had a spare dummy. I was there. And then one night I heard him gurgle, and I was ready, and I sat and watched him. He crawled to the end of his cot. He knew where those dummies were kept, reached over the side of the cot, got a dummy from the top of the drawers, and went back to sleep.
Wow. At what age?
And I was like, I don't even know how old he was. He couldn't talk anyway.
Wow.
No, it was yeah. And he was just like, going back to sleep.
And I was like,
he knew the routine.
I actually love you.
It was awesome. Like, honestly, I do not know how. Like other parents are like, we don't get any sleep with our baby. That is true. There is an element of that, but we worked really hard doing. There's a thing called the 3-day nanny, and it's kind of controversial in some ways, but I would recommend it to anybody. That basically you do a routine for 3 days, and once you've done it for 3 days, it kind of takes, and you might have to refresh those 3 days as you go on. But it's a psychology thing. But routines are set up in 3 days basically. So once you've done it 3 times, that's the routine, and we'll do that. So we did that for like sleep training. We didn't do the whole bringing the baby into our bed. Our kids have never slept in our beds with us. And there's we're getting into a different school of thought here. Like this, we could have an entire season just on the different sides of parenting and the different nurtures, and we chose to go that way, and it's worked for us. So that's all I can say on that. But we do get a good night's sleep now, and the kids have always slept well because that's what we've chosen to do. So I can only say we've had a good experience from that. But Lindsay's seen it work firsthand, haven't you, Lindsay? Like,
I can't comment on the not bringing him into the bed.
I could tell you looked a little bit guilty.
Jackson, like, have multiple times I fell asleep with him on the sofa. But he was on the inside, and there was a pillow between us. It was all okay. When we had Jackson for, was it 2 weeks, right? When Paul went back to work and you were finishing up work, and my husband would take him into bed in the morning because he's like, it's not time to get up here, and feed his bottle there. But like, it was never a big thing. And then Marisa, she needed to be brought into bed a couple of times, but nothing like you see these people that their 11-year-old is running into their bed. No, those kids know that if they come in for a cuddle in bed, they're not staying there.
I'm not saying we've not had a cuddle in the morning with our kids. Like don't make me out to be.
No, I mean like a full night's sleep in the bed is never happened.
No, they've never had a full night's sleep in our bed because they've got their own beds.
Actually, I remember one time that Jackson came into my bed, and he went, "Okay, Auntie Lindsay, I'm going back to mine because I think I snored or something." And that was, I was like, well, snoring is good for something.
Lindsay, you've obviously had a very pivotal role to play in the upbringing of Ryan's kids. And we've spoken to a number of people in previous episodes who are very much of the mindset that they never want to have children, that's something that they will never entertain. Some have gone as far as to be sterilised to prevent themselves. When you hear stories like that, how does it make you feel?
I'm very open-minded. I mean, I don't judge anybody for their choices. I think the sterilisation, I think Ryan told me about this, and it kind of went, that's a bit drastic. Like that's non-reversal. Although I think there is some ones you can reverse now, but like that's a big statement. Like nothing's going to change. I'm never doing it. But then in the back of my head, I'm like, there is other options if that does change. Like they could adopt, they could stuff. But we don't know what they've been through that's made them make that choice. You don't know if you were battered as a child, you might not want another child to go through that, so you're not having kids, or you just... I sometimes call myself...
That's the thing.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on in somebody's head. I sometimes say now I am too selfish to have kids, even if I could, because I like going out for a drive. I like sitting on the sofa and falling asleep and not having to worry about getting up to look at somebody. I like being able to say, do you know what, I'm going over to America at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
My husband likes his sleep way too much. So I don't know if he would even survive. I've just done 3 nights. Well, yeah, I've just done 3 nights night shift at my work for the first time ever, and it killed me. Like,
it's hard.
I know I won't be on my feet for 10 hours a day with a baby, but
you might.
Well, actually, we did rock Jackson, so that was probably true. I would not judge anybody for their decisions. I just, it would scare me to know that it was so permanent.
A few of the things that you said there have resonated with me and with some of our previous guests who spoke about enjoying what they have just now, being happy where they are just now, and sometimes that's enough for them to say, okay, I'm going to have the surgery, I'm going to sterilize myself because I'm happy with my life. I don't want to have the risk, if that's the right word, of that changing. And you said you think you might be too selfish now to have kids. How do you know when? How do you decide? Right, okay, I'm gonna, if the right word is give up or stop trying.
I don't think you ever give up or stop trying. In the back of my head, even though at this moment in time it's 100% not going to happen for me right now, you still have that little bit in the back of your head that thinks, yeah, one day maybe. And as much as I say I'm too selfish, I went to Inverness, thank you to my brother and Paula, for a belated anniversary present, and we went up to the fairy garden, and we got so excited about finding these fairies and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'd love to come back here with the kids, and Sam was like, well, they've seen it, so what's your problem? And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't with them.
Oh, okay.
Shared experience.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and then I showed them pictures of our trip, and they went, we never saw that. Like, and then this big log that I had to do the Dirty Dancing reenactment on. Well, I tried. My version of the
a modified version of the Dirty Dancing.
A set-up version of like, they would never have thought of that on that log, but we were both in the same place at different times and did different things. And I said that to Hassan, I was like, you're not seeing it from we could have had a totally different experience. We always say we want to go to America all together because I've been to Magic Kingdom and I've sat there and been a child for a day. I've been again and done the adult side of it. I don't think it would be the same as any of those experiences to then do it again with the kids. I think it's a totally different. So I think you have to get that in your mind, that having kids may stop you doing some things, but it'll change the experience. Sometimes for the better, sometimes not. I couldn't imagine doing Disneyland with a buggy, but
but it can be done. We've all seen it happen.
It can, yes. There's a buggy park. I mean,
yeah, it's been thought of.
We didn't want to do it with a buggy. We were very aware of how busy these places get, but we still did it.
We're kind of a bit different, though, aren't we? Our mum lives there, so we have more opportunities to go and do stuff like that. But taking away the park side of it, I'd love to go in my mum's pool with the kids and have that fun. But when I'm on my own, I love the lazing in the pool.
Yeah.
And I totally, with a glass of something that would not be there if the kids were there. It is different. It changes, but I would say that it's adaptable.
Yeah.
If you've got a good babysitter.
Yeah.
Where did Paula go for her
Thanks, Liz.
30th? New York.
I can't remember. Where did she go? Oh,
She went to New York.
It doesn't know.
I don't remember what I did this morning.
That's true. That's true.
A 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they still managed to go to New York for Paula's 30th. So if you've got that support network, you don't have to give anything up. Maybe have to change
adapt.
The dates and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, you make compromises where they need to be made, and you decide when and where you have to do that. Different things. You have to take on different considerations when you've got kids, but that's the same way everybody. It might not be children that's the factor. It could be money. It could be the way you live. It could be anything. Like there could be any.
Who's going to feed the cat?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, I've got a dog. You know, any other responsibility can get in the way of a decision-making process. So I don't think kids for us have been a hindrance because we've had like obviously we can't do things on a whim at the same, but we can take the kids with us. So, and we actually like love.
If you didn't have kids, you could do things on a whim anyway. So.
Well, not right now, no.
Mine is if you took the kids away, it's not.
You still have to plan things.
Paula still likes her plans.
Paula likes
not
a list.
So much. You could, yeah.
Paula
so
and I
if you take away the kids, that wouldn't really have changed that much of that. I wish I could be as organised as Paula. I love it, but.
Just not
I'm
who
not
you
that
are.
Person. No, I could write a list of lists and then do another list, but then
and then ignore them.
I close the book and that is it.
Yeah.
So I don't think the children would have stopped that, but I think you've got to do more, right? Because you've got the kids as an excuse. I mean, who goes trampolining or a soft play area where you're not really meant to be in there, but you've got a child, so it's okay.
I can't tell you how much I wish I was small enough to still be able to go into like a ball pool.
Germs aside, you are small enough. Jackson, it's just not morally right.
Yeah, it's just not acceptable.
Adult ball pit. The thing is, I took Jackson to a local. I don't want to name it, but yeah, soft play area, and we used to go every Tuesday. So they started getting to know that we would be there. Like, oh hi, yeah, how you doing? Like so, and I would take him in. Obviously, he was just little, so I would take him in and go in with him, and we'd sit in the ball pool together, and the whole thing was great. Like, I would not change that experience for anything.
It got to the point where on a Tuesday there'd be like 5 adults and 1 baby.
We're all sitting around a table having a.
That becomes an excuse.
Yeah.
And they're like, who's taking him in today?
Who wants to go through the big rollers? And like Linzi was like, I'm going to go through. I want to like squeeze myself. Like, I want to try. And
I learned to wear tie bottoms after that.
Yeah, I was able to use it as an example of whether or not I was putting on weight. If I could still get through the roller, I'm like, I'm going to need to really manage my weight a bit better because I can't get through the rollers anymore.
But do you know, if you'd have gone there on your own, you wouldn't have done that. You'd have been like, I'm too big to go through that, walk past it. That baby's just gone through. You have no choice.
And so there's only one way in, one way out.
That's true too.
Oh, I know. And they don't make it easy.
Wait, no, you have to go through the rollers to be in there with your kid.
Or you stand at the other side through the netting. You're right.
To begin with, you had to go in. You had to go in. So it was good. I really enjoyed that. So these shared experiences, it's the same as anything though. When you tell a story, you're like, you had to be there. It's the same thing. So if you're all invested, like Paula and I are fully invested in our kids because that's the choice we've made. We have our kids, we're fully invested in them. And every decision-making process we make has them at the core of it. how are we going to do that with them, or how are we going to do that without them, if we're going to do it for something for ourselves. But they're always at the core of it. So that is our culture now. The kids are a culture, and the rest of the family have to be on board with that. And that's the shared experience that, oh, well, they've got the kids, what do they want to do? And so a lot of that is Linzi either coming in and saying, would you like me to take the kids for a day, or would you like me to, do you want to do something? Do you want to all go somewhere together? You know, and it's again, that support network. We're very lucky. We've got people around us that want to be involved. So
yeah, I think we kind of all adapted, didn't we? We like, the kids are the forefront of all our minds. Like, we know that if we all want to go out somewhere, Brewster's is probably going to be the best bet, because we will get time to eat our food while they're in the play pit. And the staff there know us all because of that. So it's nice. I mean, when your nephew goes, can we go to Frankie and Benny's this time because I want some pancakes? Then you know that you've done something right, that they want to go out and have breakfast with you.
Yeah.
But they're used to that. They know, like, the places we will go. And they're really two really good kids for that reason, I think. Like, they know the rules. They'll bend them, but they know them.
Just like any good adult.
Ryan. Exactly. I know the rules.
Linzi, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to have your perspectives.
I think we went a little off topic.
Thanks, Linz.
That's the way it always goes.
Hi, this is Ryan. Thanks for checking out Life Is It Just Me. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube for the video version. And come over and check out our website, which is lifeisitjust.me, for all our latest info and updates. And thanks again. We'll see you soon.